Yo! Wonderful Athletes! How you doing, man? I hope you're all well. Today, we shall be spreading love, lots of love, to the whole world. Peace and unity. Making sure all Earthlings are honest and forgiving towards one another. Are you ready to help me in doing so wonderful so? Well, if you are, hit the like button. Watch till the end and tell us where you are watching from. We shall be reacting together to interesting videos. All types of videos, man, with the intentions of spreading good vibes. I am Y311H and I have a friend of mine here, Kasugu. Straight out of Africa with lots of good vibes. Let's dive in, man. Good vibes all the way. Oh. How did they know that's a mermaid's bag? Oh, good people of look at this stuff. What's going on here? Hey, my God. This is unbelievable. How can lightning do this? I doubt that is normal lightning. Good people, oh my God. You see, this footage here has appeared several times in different episodes and is scared of someone walking in the sky there. And you wonder who might that be? Just like this stuff here looks like some weird type of ring clouds. My friends, what's really going on in the sky these days? Yeah? Look at those other ones. Hey, you see this now? I don't think these are clouds. Hey, look at these ones. They look like clouds shaped in those UFO shapes. My friends, do you think these are UFOs? You please be the judge and leave some comments. And kindly, please watch till the end. Hit the like button like always, just for the sake of good vibes. You see? Hiya. Oh my God. This looks like holes in the sky. Am I seeing this like good people of Earth? What's going on here? Hey.
Here's a map of ancient Egypt. I've inserted two sticks or obelisks. One up here in Alexandria and one down here in Syene. Now, if at a certain moment each stick casts no shadow at all, that's perfectly easy to understand, provided the Earth is flat. If the shadow at Syene is at a certain length, and the shadow at Alexandria is the same length, that also makes sense on a flat Earth. But how could it be, Eratosthenes asked, that at the same instant there was no shadow at Syene and a very substantial shadow at Alexandria? The only answer was that the surface of the Earth is curved.
You still don't know who the Statue of Liberty actually is? You still don't know what that light she's holding represents? And you just think that pose is accidental? And that we're not living in a time past the 1,000 years when Satan is released from his prisons to go out to deceive the nations? Well, you might not know the time period we're in or who that statue represents, but I know someone that does. And they're trying to send us a sign. A sign that maybe this time of evil we've been living in for a long, long time is coming to an end. A sign to get our discernment ready, because towards the end is when they're going to try their hardest to deceive all the nations and all the people. So it's time you make a decision and decide what side you want to be on. But just be careful, because it's a decision that might last you an eternity.
Oh man, good vibes all the way. Do good deeds, man. Just like this good vibes guy here who has a friend pet of his and which is a bird, and it's very interesting. And he even puts a paper towel on it when it's time to feed it. Hey, this is good vibes. Your things are just wonderful. You see, this is good, man. Oh, seems very wonderful and interesting when you see just humans spreading love to animals. You see, it's great. Even spreading love to one another. And then there's this stuff here. Good people of Earth, what is this? Is this some staircase or what's up? This is crazy stuff. Hey, just like this other. Oh yeah. Oh, look at this one. What's going on here? Oh, this is very interesting. Haja. And then there's this some way here to fix your seat, your car seat, and this is how you do it, huh? What's going on here? Oh, which machines are these? Hey, some of this stuff I have no idea what they are. Oh, is this meat? Meat that has been put in this type of way? Oh, this is an artistic chef. Oh, this is good vibes, man. Humans never stop to amuse us every day. Different humans from different places, they just have incredible stuff, you see? And it's amazing, man. If we all became one, we can share this stuff amongst ourselves.
Look at this thing. You can see they're super slow moving. And this is the head right here. That little thing. They're absolutely fascinating. But they're very mysterious as well, just like I said. There's really not a lot I can teach you because there's not a lot known about these. Of course, we know that they are beetles in the order Coleoptera. We do know their family and etc., the trilobite beetles. But they are quite mysterious. There's still so much that's unknown about these awesome, awesome, awesome little insects. I think I can put it on my nose. Let's see. What is going on? It's gonna burrow in my brain. Maybe that's what they eat. Jack sort of wildlife brains. Unlikely. Possible. Plausible. Just kidding. It's just a hypothesis. But they've got great little tarsal claws. You can't really see. But they're able to grip quite well. In addition, they have this kind of sticky pad on the back of their abdomen there that they kind of use like a caterpillar would. They kind of peel it and use it to push their body along.
This has a problem. These two Vecca quadrants did fall. We have Wesodrax and Wesodex, and they are fighting with each other over various things. They never liked each other, and the Wesodrax used to side with the Borgia. They allowed for the time rip triangulation to be extended into the Wesen matrix, and for a while there they tried to pull this system down into the Wesen matrix, and then the Borgia tried to pull the Wesen matrix into the Borgia system. They've been playing tug-of-war through this triangulation. This triangulation is a time rip. It is through that triangulation that crosses down into our what's called a Yumbi lock, coming into density 1, that this is the means by which frequencies were blasted through that forced the closure of the prana seed at the center of our sun, its core gates. That's what initiated the bardo of this solar system, finally, after all these billions of years of this drama. So this is the Borgia triangulation. When you hear that being spoken about here and there, this is what it's referring to. There's another thing called the Ark of Aquarii, which was part from the beginning, designed, part of the host system. A host means it will help a system get back into its natural Christic eternal life pattern. So there was a host system here. The first thing was the Ark of Aquarii, coming from the outer domain light cells all the way through, coming into our hubs and out into our system in order to literally give a lifeline to this system and to give it an energy feed so it could perhaps protect itself first and then bioregenerate itself from the effects of the Borgia triangulation. Then there's another thing that's even deeper. It comes from not just the outer domain level, but the inner domain hub level of the Aquarian matrix. It is called the Ansatesa passage. Ansatesa passage. And it is like a respirator line that has been anchored. The 12 tribes classes have progressively assisted in anchoring these frequencies as they were coming in through Sala 4, which is the natural Stargate 4 in our Universal Vecca, and it's actually in the density 2 level, and Eartha 3, which is our host star that our planet is actually sitting in at a different angular rotation of particle spin. All right. So anyway, the tribes classes have assisted in the process of activating the host here, which allowed the Ansatesa passage to come in and create literally a chamber of energy that allows this system, the Aquarian system, to keep Earth's prana seed open, so it is capable at this point to still hold ascension evac gates. We are on evac. We have been for a while. We'll see where that popped up when we look at the chronology a bit. But it is a complex system of direct Christ intervention. It's like, yes, somebody up there does care. God source does care. That's why these type of systems are always in matrices. There will always be a few control systems where the beings who are in there choose to live by the rules of the Christ, always, and to just extend themselves in service, of loving service, into the other systems that might need it. They keep themselves strong and pure in order that they can make this type of intervention. They have intervened, from what I've heard before, in some other fall dramas. Sometimes they don't get there in time. I think they tried to intervene here, and they even hosted some of them out, when the ones that weren't falling, when their matrix was falling. So they're not discriminating. They don't, judge one group as bad and one as the other. They are operating on complete unconditional love of source. So this is the Crystal River host that comes in from here. There are a whole bunch of other chambers that have to do with things that were set here during this period of time when the Crystal River host was first set 450 billion years ago. And progressively, as the drama got worse from 450 billion years ago, involving these guys, where they tapped into this matrix, they actually caused the fall of the Wisadrak and Wisadek systems, where this problem kept getting worse. These guys could have quarantined them from the start, but if they had used the frequency power of their matrix to close this down, because of the time rip link into our Eka core, it would have caused our system to be dragged in and imploded with them. And because there was a huge life field here already, this matrix was seeded 950 billion years ago, they wanted to give the ones here as much chance as possible to evolve out of this problem. So this is why it's been allowed to go on this long. A lot was done. There's a huge amount of history, but it brings us to where we are now, which is a very interesting point. Yes, we're an evac here. There was a point in time we were going to try to evacuate the planet too, not just people off it, not just things off it, but the planet itself. Through a progression of things that have gone on since 2000, the potentiality of doing that dried up. It became where you couldn't pull the planet out of this, particularly once the solar gates fell. But there's something interesting, that there's a new potentiality that, no, we can't drag Earth out of this. Earth is going into fall because the solar system's going to fall, because this galaxy is going into fall. It already has a black hole at its center, by the way, science tells us. This universal Eka is falling. We're not going to be able to pull Earth out of it. But instead of just taking the life forms that can go through ascension gates off, there's a potentiality that has to do with hydrolase conversion that can allow, even if it's small, a small percentage of the Earth body to be able to restart its own hydrolase cycle. It won't be a huge portion, but it will be enough to allow portions of the landmass to be able to make a slide through slide zone 3. And if they were able to do that, they would pop up as island nations in Aquifarion, which is a primarily water version of Earth in the New Earth system. So we have a chance with beginning to what we are being asked to join in on is the kickstart, the manual kickstart of Earth's hydrolase conversion potentiality that could only be done at this point through the Aquifarian host shield and all that that's connected to. The Aquifarian host shield of the angelic humans with Aquari codes and the Aquifarian humans that are cloister indigo Aquari that are on this planet, we're the ones who were sent in long ago with the codes of Aquari that would allow the anchoring of the Aquari line frequencies. We could anchor the frequencies of the host. A regular indigo couldn't do that alone. A regular angelic human couldn't do that alone, because it means we have the gate codes of 3 matrices. It's called the Tri-River, the Crystal River host. It has the frequencies of our matrix, the Wisa matrix, and also the Aquarian matrix. A lot of us actually came out of here and came over as the assistance teams and have our incarnational cycles over here, but we started over there. And if we're going to go back to full ascension and our full starfire, we've got to get out of here and back to where we started, because you need to follow the same frequency path and accrete back through. If you came out from the core and into the inner domains, and then out into the middle domains, and out into the outer domains where we are out here, you need to follow your same path back in. So if you're in an outer domain and you crossed over to go visit, you need to cross back over and then go through back into your own core in order to fully become what's called a Christ star, or fully return to source, and then come back out with the full set of frequencies as a spherical identity, which is another part of the story we'll talk about later. Anyway, this is the location of where these things are on the map, where these people are, where these groups of people are. We're not alone in this. We have huge support. And yes, black holes are huge, but creation is more huge, as we will see as this progresses. If we remember later, just remember the image of this. This is one Akasha and one Akasha Ea system, or an Eucatharista. It has another one at this angle, where its tip would come out there and here. That would be the Adore side, so it's actually double this with all of those domains, right? And that's just the outer domain level. And there would be a core, behind that there would be the middle level, then the inner level, then the core. And that is just one set within a much larger body. We're going to learn about something by the end of the anatomy that we'll get into with spirit body of, if I can remember how to pronounce the word, it's called the Another Illum word, right? We've got lots of lumas and illumas and luma unas and stuff lately coming up in the teachings. These are the teachings of the Kalayun Satare books, which are the books of the Adashi return cycles that are used literally by the masters that are out of the domains. They're in the Adashi cycles on their way back into source, as we'll see. But anyway, it's written on the graphs. It's the ELUM-EIR.
Oh man, that sounds interesting. For entertainment purposes only, and spreading good vibes, you see? Hit the like button and let's watch till the end. Spreading good vibes, yo! Wonderful. And thanks to all those guys there in the comment section doing some great work. You're all loved. You're wonderful souls, man, you see? And it's great that you always do that. And those that have clicked in for the first time, my friend, here we are all about spreading love, you see? And welcome.
If you didn't see it with your own eyes, no oil, no electricity, and no water needed. All it takes is a bit of firewood to generate power. Not only can it easily light up two 100-watt bulbs, but it can also simultaneously charge a phone. This ingenious invention by the young man would even earn a thumbs up from Thomas Edison himself. Perhaps you find this hard to believe, but after witnessing his process, I finally realized that my vision was too narrow. The young man started by preparing 4 equal-length square tubes, arranging them into a right-angled square and securely joining and fixing each seam. Additionally, he welded another handle in the middle for easy handling. After meticulously welding and smoothing out the joints, he drilled a screw into each corner to serve as support brackets. Flipping it over, he marked a circle with a diameter of 2 centimeters on the top and used an angle grinder to cut shallow grooves accordingly. Then, he carefully wound copper wire around the grooves, leaving 2 ends protruding for connection to a plug to convert the generated power into electricity. Of course, he didn't forget to insulate the wires with adhesive tape. Next, he built a U-shaped structure with 3 layers of cement bricks to hold the firewood, placing a raised steel mesh inside for ash collection. Once everything was ready, it was time to witness the miracle. When the young man heated the copper wires, the light bulbs immediately lit up, and conversely, they extinguished when the heat was removed. Isn't it amazing? I wonder if any knowledgeable folks out there can explain the principle behind this phenomenon. Feel free to leave a comment below to discuss and enlighten us all. Let this inexperienced writer learn alongside everyone else.
Oh man, that's very interesting. Humans are wonderful.
This is going to be one of the craziest videos you see today. This witness received an inheritance from his grandmother. And as he's going through the box, it becomes unbelievable and even more unbelievable. So many questions arise. Either his grandmother was a witch, or he's from a family of hunters. Take a look at this video and tell me what you think.
My grandma was from Ireland, and this is the box she left me. stuff you get left by your grandma. I'm not sure where that came from. Anyway. The mummified leprechaun. Never seen anything like this before in my life. This is a mummified leprechaun. And it looks absolutely awesome. And it said it could be human skin suit. Ugh. Which is a wow. Just put it down there. Then I'm gonna get this one, which is a banshee. Which looks pretty awesome. Now these are well over 100 years old. So, who the hell leaves you these? There's bottle of coins, silver coins, never opened. So, anybody can tell me about them. A load of bottles. My nana was into witchcraft, so if anybody knows what these mean or what it's about, please let us know. And there's other stuff. Well, just crazy.
Oh, my friends, how can you explain that? Why?
Have you ever wondered how some human beings are capable of doing things that most people can't? As an example, a few people break the windows of an Apple store and steal everything inside. Or some people scam others out of their money. How are they capable of doing this when most people would not be capable? So I've created a diagram to explain this, and hopefully, once you understand what's really happening, you can feel some compassion for people who harm others. Here it is. So when someone is capable of things like betrayal, scamming, stealing, violence, abuse, and many other things, this is really pointing to the person's level of consciousness, and so I'm calling that inner state hell. Hell is the lowest frequency, which is hopelessness and powerlessness. Now, human beings would not be able to survive if they vibrated at this all the time, and so the reason that people do these things when they are in an inner state of hell is because they are constantly trying to escape the hell they're in. And believe me, this is infinitely worse than this. That's why people are capable of this, because this feels good when your inner reality is actually this. That's how they're capable of these acts. And I cannot stress enough just how horrible it is to experience this. This is so low that this feels good when people do it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine stealing something from a store and you feel good about it? It must mean that you are truly in hell for such an act to feel good. And just for another visual, here is hell at the very bottom. And when somebody scams somebody out of their money, it still elevates their frequency. It's very far from heaven, unconditional love, but still, Anything that elevates you from absolute hell is better than nothing. One more piece of information. Someone that is in an inner state of hell has so much heavy trauma, shame, guilt, fears, and so much more that what's happening is they constantly try to escape that, and this temporarily raises their frequency from the very bottom to a little higher, but this never stops coming to the surface. So really, it's like they're being pulled back down constantly to hopelessness. But of course, this is the most horrible existence. That's why when this is pulling the person down constantly, that's why they never stop betraying, scamming, stealing, being violent, abusive. And what's really sad about this is that people that are constantly being pulled down to hopelessness, what they're actually doing without even knowing is trying to feel good, but they can't because they're constantly being pulled down. And the highest frequency that they can get to is scamming, is violence, is abuse. Isn't that sad that that's the highest frequency? It's still extremely low, but again, it's much better than the very bottom. The second part of the diagram is most people on the planet that are not capable of doing these things. So they are in an inner state that I'm calling either neutral or heaven. Neutral would be kind of satisfaction. That's already positive, but you could even have kind of boredom over here, and that would still be kind of neutral. And the higher you go, the closer that you are going to heaven, which is unconditional love. So let's say that most of the time you are in satisfaction or even higher optimism, rare moments where you touch unconditional love, maybe joy and bliss. And suddenly you have a moment when you are being very rude to somebody you love. Immediately when you do that, I'm calling that the fall from heaven. So you could have been in optimism or higher, and suddenly when you're rude to somebody that you love, you would go down and you would start going into the negative frequencies. That feels like a fall from heaven. That's why, just like people that are trying to escape the absolute hell that they're in and they try to scam others, they're trying to feel better. The same thing happens when you are in neutral or heaven inner state. You have a fall, but you do something that isn't horrible. It's not violence, it's not abuse, but you still feel that fall in frequency, and then you automatically want to go back up because you want to feel better. You apologize, you make it right. So when you look at both states, they're very different states. Both people are trying to feel better. But when you are in an inner state of hell, you are basically trapped here, and that's why you go down to hell and then you try to feel better by doing things that are considered horrible, but they're still higher frequency than hopelessness, which is hell. If you visualize heaven and hell physically, you're going to understand this even deeper. Imagine hell, it's full of fire, it's dark, it's the most awful place, the scariest place. Everybody feels powerless. Everybody is on the ground crying and they can't do anything about it. In that awful place, if somebody has the idea of using other people, making them their slave, now they're not on the floor crying and feeling absolutely powerless. Now they have a false sense of power, which is an elevation in frequency. So when you are in hell, doing horrible things feels good. When you are in heaven, the most beautiful place, peaceful place, the smallest act of unkindness feels like a huge event because you are in heaven. So now you can understand that when you see people doing things that you are not capable of doing, you understand that deep inside they are in a kind of hell. And that's why what they do feels good to them. It doesn't feel good to you because you are not in a state of hell. Now you can have more compassion when you see people doing these types of things. They're doing the best that they can. It's not to condone them. It's not to say that it's okay that they do those things. This is just so that we can have more understanding for people that are actually in deep suffering and they don't even know it.
Yeah, man. Good vibes to everybody and much love.
I'm going to tell you a story about humanity. And like any good story, we need to start at the beginning. A lot of people want to know what the beginning was like for humanity. So after channeling For 40 years, the information has often been asked, where did we come from? The way the story goes from the information gathered from the channeling is as follows. Many hundreds of thousands of years ago, the natural hominid that evolved upon the earth, that we often refer to as Homo erectus, existed, and at one point, the story goes, an extraterrestrial race visited the earth. They came to Earth to mine minerals that would help them create a balance on their planet. And in taking on this task, they began to realize that it was quite daunting and would take a long time, longer than they had. It was very important to balance out the weather on their planet with the minerals for a very, very short period of time. And so they needed help in order to do this. They began to look around and saw the natural hominids that had evolved here, who were close enough physically to the extraterrestrials that they thought perhaps if we can somehow train them to be of assistance in mining these minerals, the task will go faster. But being master geneticists, they felt that a way to accomplish this would be to take their own genetics and inject them into the hominids and create them to be a little bit more like the extraterrestrial race so they would be easier to train, so that they would be able to understand what the task was all about and help.
Oh man, what do you think about that? Leave your comments